Let's go. Yo. Get up, nah, I ain't a quitter. Toss me the ball, I'm a really big hitter. Big picture, I'm a straight killer. Rising the song to the highest bidder. Got juice, got gas, I'ma move fast. New shoes, new tracks, like who's that? I'm new, come back, better than last. Yeah, it's a new me, never gonna look back. Never gonna look back. Cause damn, I was built to last. You move slow and I move fast. And that's facts.
Welcome everybody. Welcome to the Chicago Sports Podcast. I'm your host for the evening, D Nice. Sorry about the technical difficulties early on. Vizzo Joe, appreciate you hitting me up and letting me know. I know there was no sound on the intro of that. I apologize, but y'all get in here. Get in here and let's talk some Chicago Bears. Let's talk about what's swirling through this grapevine. You know, it's still early in the off season, and we're on our second round of OTAs. And there's a young man in Buffalo that decided he didn't want to show up. I wonder why. Could it possibly be that he wants to get paid? That's normally the reason. And that young man goes by the name of James Cook, running back out of University of Georgia, second round pick from the Buffalo Bills, 5'11", 190, out of Miami, Florida, and a younger brother of the famous Dalvin Cook. So, 25 years old, might I add. What are you guys' thoughts of the Bears being interested in James Cook? I have my thoughts, and I'll share it with you guys in just a second. I want to give a little time for you guys to get up in here. For you guys that's tuning in with me tonight, I appreciate you rocking with me. My fellow co-host should be on with me shortly, so y'all just enjoy this ride with me for the time being. I hope everybody's had a great day today. It's NBA time. I know, you know what I'm saying. It looks like the Thunder's going to the finals. Could they face the Pacers? I think that's a strong chance of that happening as well. But we ain't here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the Bears and the rumors that's been swirling around about James Cook. He could be a little bit disgruntled up there in Buffalo. You know, he wants to get paid, and you know how the league treats the running backs. He understands that the running back shelf life is not very respected by the league as it used to be, even though I think it's coming on around. Will it be like it was in the 90s and early 2000s? Maybe, maybe not. I think something catastrophic will have to happen for it to get back to that, but we'll see. My thoughts on James Cook coming to the Bears. Listen, very good back. He just doesn't move the needle for me. I think James Cook, we already have James Cook in the building, if you ask me. Some people may laugh. Don't crucify me. I'm just sharing my thoughts. I think we already have a James Cook in the building, DeAndre Swift. I think James Cook, he had a heck of a 23. 1,122 yards on 237 carries. Pro Bowl for 23 and 24. And 24 had 207 carries with 1,009 yards, 16 TDs. I mean, he was money in the bank when Buffalo got down to the red zone. 4.7 yards a carry in 23, and then 24 is 4.9 yards a carry. Wasn't too bad out the backfield in 23. 44 receptions for 445 yards with 4 TDs, 10 yards a catch with a long of like 48. Not too bad. Last year, 32 receptions, 258 yards, 2 touchdowns, 8.1 a touch, long of 28. His long rushing last year was 65, so he did show some glimpses of being very explosive. I don't think he's as explosive as his brother. I think he and Swift, in my personal opinion, I think they're pretty much the same guys. I think Cook has the luxury of playing with a quarterback like Josh Allen and playing on a heck of an offensive line in Buffalo. DeAndre Swift. Let's talk about Swift for a second. Because I know I'm getting some dirty looks. I can see you guys through the computer giving me dirty looks when I said that Swift and Cook are comparable. I say that Swift is older than him by a year. They both went to UGA. They're both second round picks. Cook is 2 inches taller. Swift is about 10, 20 pounds, 25 pounds heavier. But let's get into Swift's numbers. In 23 with the Eagles, he had a pretty good year. I don't think I think he played under a system where the quarterback, Philly has their system and it's led by that quarterback. And yeah, Josh Allen runs too before y'all kill me with that. But when it got down to the red zone, we all know things like that tush push on that 1 yard line. We all know who was running that ball in the end zone. But anyway, for 23, Swift had 229 carries, 1,049 yards, 5 touchdowns, 4.6 a touch, with a long of 43. As far as receptions, he caught 39 receptions for 214 yards, 1 touchdown, 5.5 a catch, with a long of 20. That's in Philadelphia. We all know that's a crowded bunch. It's a crowded room in Philadelphia, not necessarily the running back position, but the skill positions. Philly has a rich room in the skill position as far as wide receivers, tight ends, and running backs, and especially when your quarterback is a running back as well. Now, in 24, with the Chicago Bears. Now we all know, and I can go on and on about the slew of things that went on with the Bears last year. We can talk about coaching. We can talk about the O-line. We can talk about the inconsistencies of the quarterback and the inconsistencies of the receivers, lack of use of tight end. I can go on and on. But let's talk about Swift. And let's talk about how those things, those inconsistencies, can affect your running back. Last year with the Bears, 253 carries, 959 yards, 6 TDs, 4.6 a touch, with a long of 56. As far as a receiver, 42 receptions, 386 yards, no touchdowns, 8.2 a catch, with a long of 42. So through all that I mentioned as far as the negative things that went on with the offense of the Bears and just the Bears in general, he still darn near managed to get 1,000 yards on the ground. Uh, wasn't as good as the Philly year, but if you look at it, he really wasn't. He wasn't too far from a yardage standpoint, running the ball, but catching the ball out of the backfield, he was better. So putting these two guys together, I think the only thing that supersedes is the fact that James Cook had those 16 touchdowns. Back-to-back Pro Bowl year, and I think that's largely because the Bills had such a successful season for 23 and 24. And with winning and success comes, the accolades like the Pro Bowls for, specific players. So don't get me wrong, I'm not hating on James Cook, and I'm not trying to give Swift more than he deserves. But when it comes down to these two guys, I think they're pretty comparable. Put it this way. I don't think it's worth giving up draft capital, substantial draft capital, then on top of that, having to pay a lot more than what you're paying Swift to bring this guy in and become a Bear. Now, situation is a lot better. I would rather see how Swift handles the way the situation is now, what kind of impact Swift makes with the difference in coaching, with a better Caleb Williams and a better O-line. I would like to see that because I think he can be just as impactful as a James Cook. I know you guys might be laughing at me, but I'm just sharing my thoughts. What does a trade for James Cook look like? Okay, let's talk about that. What are you guys willing to give up to acquire a guy like James Cook? That's what I need to know. Because I understand what the league thinks of the running back. So if anyone is going to tell me that we have to give up a first or second round pick to acquire James Cook, I'm out. I mean, because I think if you looked at the total rushing yards, I think James Cook was 16th, DeAndre Swift was 18th. So you mean to tell me I got a guy in the building already? You mean to tell me that I'm going to give up substantial draft capital to bring this guy in who's 2 slots higher than me as far as rushing, and then have to pay him when I have someone comparable to that already in the building? Just don't make sense to me. Now, I've heard people say, well, we can package DeAndre Swift and give him a 3rd or 4th round pick, and maybe that'll get it done. Maybe. And maybe I like that a little bit better. But I just think the production you're going to get out of Cook, I think you can get it out of Swift. Or, if not Swift, a collection of Swift, Monangai, and, maybe Johnson. But I just don't think it's worth paying and giving up draft capital at the same time to acquire a guy like this. Now, don't get me wrong, James Cook is a very good back. He's had, out of his 3 years in the league, he's had 2 very strong ones. But I don't think it's strong. It's not strong enough for me to say, hey, I have to have this guy. Now, for you guys that have been watching for a while, y'all knew that, I was very high on Ashton Genty coming to the Bears. And I'm staying by that. I feel like Ashton Genty could give us equal or better production than either one of these guys coming into the league right now, especially where the situation is where it is now with the Bears. So, we're still trying to build a team from within. So giving up substantial draft capital to acquire a guy like Cook, who I don't see as much of a difference maker, it just doesn't make sense to me. How you guys feel about it? Share it with me. I see a few more people coming on in here. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to Trax. Shout out to all the Chicago Sports Podcast family. I appreciate the viewers for rocking with me tonight. It looks like I'm pulling a solo dolo mission, but I'm up for the task. I'm with it. And as long as you guys are riding with me, I'll be all right. This show is strictly, for fans, by the fans. We all just sharing our thoughts on the Chicago Bears. We all want this team to be successful, and I'm sure we all have a plan on how success looks in Chicago. So, you guys come on in here and just share. I share my thoughts about James Cook. And he's had, I've looked at highlights and I've looked at highlights of both of the guys. And James Cook, it looks very good. But you know what else looks very good? The lanes that his offensive line opens up for him. The play calling that the Bills were doing, in critical times of football games that, put Cook in some very, very favorable situations. And he took advantage like any good player should. So, again, I'm not knocking, as the young people say, I'm not hating. I just don't feel like he moves it, he does it enough for me, to give up what it's going to take to bring him in, on top of paying him, on top of throwing the bag at him, because that's what the holdout is all about. He wants to be respected, and the only way these players feel respected is if you feel the bag. If you feel the bag, you make the bag heavy, guys feel respected. And I don't blame them, because the way that they treat the running back in these days and times, you have to take advantage of the leverage that you have and try to acquire as much paper as possible. So, I'm not mad at Mr. Cook for, trying to wait the Bills out to see what kind of move they want to make. But, this could be dangerous because it could lead to them being traded. I don't think it'll be very wise by the Bills, but if they do trade him, I would think that they have a plan. So, the NFL, they like to pick up guys and throw them away in that running back position, which I feel like is unfortunate. But, it's just the nature of the beast right now. So I'm sure Cook and his representation and even the Bills, they're all in conversation. They'll be on the right track shortly. We got a little gap before the season starts. So, we'll see. Yep. But you guys put yourself in DeAndre Swift's shoes, for a second, right? All right. I'm gonna step up and be accountable for mine. I was the upfront guy saying that we need to upgrade the position at running back. And it was not because that I felt DeAndre Swift was terrible. I just felt like there's another level, and I don't think he's there. Now, it could have been because of lack of coaching, lack of personnel. It could be, but he's 25, 26 years old. He has another chance this year with all the upgrades we made here in Chicago. He can really have a breakout season. Like, it wouldn't surprise me at all if DeAndre Swift finishes next year with 1,300 yards. I wouldn't be surprised at it. 1,300 yards, 8 or 9 TDs, wouldn't be surprised. I think a lot of people a lot of people probably will, but I wouldn't be, because we've had upgrades and I think we're going to be better all the way around. So he had 959 yards last year on 253 carries. I'm sure the carries are going to go up a little bit more. He had 6 TDs as well. So with the improvements, he could be 3 or 4 TDs better. He could be another 400 yards better. Just you never know how it plays out. But I would love to give him a chance before I trade for a guy like James Cook. That's just my personal opinion. If you guys have thoughts, the chat, wake up, guys. Come on in here. Come on in here and talk to me. Let me hear what you guys have to say about the James Cook situation, about Chicago Bears, the Chicago Bears side of the James Cook situation, or just share your thoughts on anything that you're thinking about. For you new guys checking me out tonight, guys and girls, I'm sorry. For the ones checking me out tonight who haven't subscribed to the channel, please like and subscribe. I guarantee you'll love what we have going on here at the Chicago Sports Podcast. We talk Bears as Bears fans, for Bears fans. We listen, like I said before, we all want the Bears to be successful. And we all have our thoughts on how we can get there. Tonight we're speaking about the disgruntled James Cook and the possibilities of the Bears showing interest in James Cook. Now, it could be far-fetched, and I'm sure Cook and the Bills will have something worked out at some point, or the Bills are going to decide what direction they're going to go, at some point. But this is a very interesting thing. It's very thought-provoking. Something for us to talk about, It's not a whole lot going on this time of the year. So we just have to just kind of think of some ideas, think of some situations that can improve this team. How much of an improvement is James Cook over DeAndre Swift? I don't think it's very much there. I don't. Cook is probably better in pass protection because his brother was excellent in pass protection. But I'm not really. I don't want my running back to be known more for his blocking than for him running the rock and handling business, getting these 4 or 5 yards of touch. And blocking is a thing that can be coached up. So there can be improvement there. As far as explosiveness and speed in a game on tape, not the 40 times, just in the game on tape. I just don't see a whole lot difference there. I do see a difference in the way the Buffalo offensive linemen open up rush lanes. for him, for Dalvin Cook. Either that's going to be with him carrying the ball or him catching it out the backfield. Those lanes are wide. I think I probably can catch one and get about 6 or 7 yards through there while he's getting 15 to 20. You know what I mean? But for you guys just getting up in here, I'm not hating on it, but I just don't know how much of an improvement it is. I think we already have that in the building. Now, if you want to tell me a Kyron Williams, Bijan Robinson, a Jonathan Taylor, a Jahmyr Gibbs, I think those guys are difference makers. Even, he's a little longer in the tooth. A Joe Mixon. I think Joe Mixon is a difference maker as well. And a guy he's getting up there and he's been paid very well in New Orleans. A guy like Alvin Kamara. I don't think James Cook is better than any of those guys. Now he could be he is younger and he could very well be a lot healthier. But as far as rubber meeting the road, I don't think he's those guys. Those guys are difference makers to me. Even the year Chuba Hubbard had last season. Now we can sit up here and try to attribute that to whatever because the team wasn't very good, but he did his thing. Bucky Irvin, a young rookie that jumped off. He jumps off the TV screen, very explosive. He's a little guy, but he runs hard. He runs strong. Um, he has a nice mixture of finesse and he has some sneaky power in there when he runs the rock. James Conner's an older guy, very physical runner, but he has very deceptive speed. So you can, if there's a tier, I think James Cook and DeAndre Swift, I think are on the same tier. Hey, hate it or love it, I'm just sharing my thoughts. Like I said, I'm not running from the fact that I feel like the Bears should upgrade, but I don't think Cook is a substantial enough upgrade to move the needle. Not for me to be begging a guy to come and take, take my money in it, in a sign him. I just don't think that's a very smart thing. And then I think we need to look in other directions. We still have questions with the pass rush. Um, that weak side linebacker with the even though we did draft it, Hippolyte, and I see that we had the guy at the defensive end from last year. He's converted over to a linebacker as well. His name escapes me right now, but if you guys been tuning in, you've heard about it. But I just think there's other needs, and to kind of flip the script on a running back. This particular running back, I just don't think it's a good idea right now. There's other things that we can shore up. We have other unknowns. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys don't want to talk to me tonight, what's up? Y'all come on in here. Shout out to Vizzo Joe. Shout out to you guys watching wherever you guys are watching from. I know a lot of people checking out the game, the basketball game, checking out OKC, watching OKC close the door on the Timberwolves. But there's a few people watching. For you new guys checking me out, please like and subscribe. And the title for tonight, James Cook not showing up for OTAs. And could James Cook spark the interest of the Chicago Bears? And there's something else that happened today. Caleb finally addressed the whole thing about him wanting or not wanting to. Well, let me say this: him wanting to be a Viking. they tried to make it seem like he wasn't interested in becoming a Bear at a certain point. Which, if you looked at things on the outside in, it's if it comes out, if it's been put out there, I can't say that it's a complete lie. Some of it is probably true, but I think a lot of it is spearheaded by his pops, not necessarily him. Because I look at Caleb as a competitor, and if I'm a competitor, I'm looking at a situation that we have here with the Bears. They never had a 4,000-yard passer. No one's ever threw over 30 TDs. There's a lot of things, and a lot of things being said like Chicago is where the quarterbacks go to die. Things of that nature. If I'm a competitor, this is where I want to be because I want to be the first guy to throw for over 4,000 yards. I want to be the first guy to come in here and throw over 30 TDs. I want to be the first guy to come in here that changes the narrative of Chicago being a place where quarterbacks go to die. I want to be that guy. Now, it may not happen right away, but I'm going to work my tail off till I get to the point where, people think a lot differently about the Bears and the quarterback position. So he spoke a little bit about it. He touched on, you can tell that he didn't really want to address it, but it's become such a distraction. And I think, too, he's been advised just to listen. Share your thoughts on it and be done with it after this day. And I think that's what he did today. And hopefully the media, Chicago media, and everybody else can just let it go and we can move forward. And there'll be no more distractions in the Bears locker room talking about it. We can move on and focus on winning football games. Ben Johnson also touched on it. Those guys don't seem too bothered with it. I think they understand that it's kind of like the price of fame at this point. And I'm in agreement. Listen, when you're a guy that's getting prepared for a draft and you're going through all these visits and you're talking to these different coaches from different situations and everybody's talking sweet to you. They're making everything look good. When you're in that particular situation. So I guess, coming home from a visit with the Vikings, Caleb and his pops rapping like, hey, man, I really like that situation in Minnesota. They got this, that, this, that. Coach O'Connell, as we all know, is a heck of a coach, heck of an offensive mind, and plus he's young. They have a very, very good defensive coordinator over there, and we all seen last year that the Vikings had a very good defense. So it's a situation that anybody would want to go in, especially if you're a guy coming from the situation he was in at USC. Where the offensive line wasn't very great, and neither was the defense. He was in shootouts every week. He didn't have, the first round, second round NFL caliber receivers his last year. It's a lot of things intriguing. And then if you look at it too, he had his ex teammate there too, his ex wide receiver there that he's throwing the ball to in his Heisman year at USC. So there was a lot of things intriguing for Caleb in Minnesota. And I don't blame him for being interested, especially at that particular time because he went to Minnesota first before he came to Chicago. So, I tell you, the media does a job, boy. They force you to come out here and address it. They sit around and conjure up all this stuff, write books about all these things, and to the point where you're forced to address it just to make everyone feel better. So he's just caught up in that situation. I'm glad he got it on out the way, and like I said before, we can continue on this playoff journey. I would love to say Super Bowl journey, but I don't think we're quite there yet. But playoff journey for sure. So that's kind of it on that. OTAs continuing. Guys getting the work in. A couple of guys didn't show up. Soft tissue injuries. That's very common at this time of the year. Guys are gearing up, getting things back together. You know, they enjoyed the off season, and you know they're trying to get things together before training camp arrives, and then the live rounds start to fire. So yeah, I mean that's the day with the Chicago Bears. You know, again, you guys are checking me out. I appreciate you. Please like and subscribe wherever you watching from. The Chicago Sports Podcast family would love to have you be a part of it. The topic of the night was the Bears' interest in James Cook and how interested are they? What would it take? And what are you guys interested in acquiring a guy like James Cook when we already have a guy like DeAndre Swift in the building? And with that being said, I'm gonna get up out of here, man. I appreciate the guys and girls that checked me out tonight. Shout out to Trax for giving us the platform and the opportunity to bring our thoughts to the table, to bring our thoughts to the world so we can share it with you guys and girls. I hope everyone has a blessed night. You know, if you're out watching the basketball game, be safe driving home. You know, if you're out just kicking it, or you know what I'm saying, if you're inside, you guys be safe. Peace up and bear down.